What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the 3P podcast, Passion, Pain, and Progress. I'm your host, Darnell Turner, and today, I'm going to do my first solo video podcast. I have a new podcast video coming to you next week, next Monday. So this is my first video podcast that I'm doing. It's just me, and so I have a new interview coming up next week on Monday, so stay tuned for that. But this is just me. So pretty much this is just me talking about like a little bit of things that I've been going through lately. And so recently I've been just thinking about my journey, just thinking about like everything that I've had going on in the last year. And it really started off with just me swimming. One day last week, I was talking to my coach, and he pretty much told me, it's time to stop being so dependent on the swim, some of the flotation devices that I use during swimming. So the next day, I got into the pool, and just to be honest with you, it was just like I had a really bad outing, a really bad effort. So. Of course, when you have a bad training session, especially when you're working on a new skill. I haven't swam at all before this year. Like I've swam at times, like in my childhood, but for the most part, this is all new to me. So one thing I will say is that like my ego has been taking like major hits sometimes when I'm doing some workouts. So that was a time where I literally got into the pool and I felt like all of the work that I worked up to this point, because I had been swimming pretty consistently for the last maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe 2 months. But so I have been really consistent at it, but because I was told to not use the flotation devices and all of the tools to actually start focusing on my swimming, my ego took a hit, and just one thing after another, just kind of like spiral mental, my mental took a hit. And one thing I will say is that, when one thing happens, usually, a couple things starts to happen. One of the things that's been happening is, well, for me at least, when I get into those modes, I start playing like the highlight reels of all of the negative things that's been going on in my life. So, I start thinking about, just finances, or I start thinking about, am I being, who I said I want to be? Am I, holding my own standard? Am I holding true to myself? And, all of the things that's been going on. And, it started, when I get in those stressful states, I start reflecting on like a lot of the coping mechanisms that I used to have back in the day. So, one thing that I used to do is I used to smoke black and milds. When things got stressful, or I used to drink beer or drink alcohol, all of the things that I kind of cleared up and kind of cleaned up started to like kind of rear their ugly head, and I start thinking about doing these things, or even eating bad, just having bad habits. At that time, when I had a lot of these habits, I was like 200, almost 300 pounds. And I just remember not being happy. I remember not being, just not being able to do the things that I am doing now. Like, I'm able to, run marathons. I'm able to train for triathlons. I'm able to, spend time with my son and not be tired, or take him out on bike rides and not be tired, or even do my workout and then hang out with him and, run around with him and I'm not tired. So, me thinking about drifting into some of those old habits that I had was like, it had me thinking like, if you gave up now, where would you be? Because there was a moment in my life where I remember, this is the first time that I really took fitness serious. And I remember me and my wife went to, my girlfriend at the time, but we went to DC, and I remember we were hitting the gym. I remember I worked from 3 to 11 shift, but when I got off that shift, I would go straight to the gym. And at this time, I was at like Planet Fitness. I was going to Planet Fitness, and they stay open later, so it was like a 24-hour fitness place. So I remember getting a workout in right after work as soon as I got off. I mean, I was so consistent. And I remember we went to DC, and I remember we was eating well there. Like we were doing pretty decent, but I remember there was this one pizza. It was like this. I remember like it was yesterday. It was like it was called California Pizza Kitchen, I think, or something like that. And I remember we ate this pizza, and then that kind of like spiraled down. Like we just kind of like gave up. But I remember after that moment, always thinking to myself, like, what if I'd have kept going? What if I'd have kept going? And I still have that picture of me and that I took up there that I was so proud of. And this was like the first time I was ever that low in weight. Honestly, my whole life since I was a child. So I always think about that when I think about going backwards, because it's like, okay, what if I would have never started again? Because if I would have gave up then, and if I give up now, am I okay with right now being the best it's ever been? Because I look back at that point and being like, that was the best that you were. That was the best that you were in your weight loss journey. So if I would have just stopped right there, that would have been it. And at that point, I think I got down to about 270. And now I'm at my weight now. The last time I weighed myself, I'm at like 184 pounds. It's up and down between 190 and 184, depending on like if I'm carb loading or if I'm depending on what I eat now, I can go up, I can go down, but I'm always in between 184 and 190. So I always look back and think like, man, like 270 was the best. I could have stopped there. Like that's where I was thinking. So even now, like I said, I'm not thinking about losing weight. I'm thinking about what I can do with do with myself and do with my body. So now I'm training for triathlons. I'm training for marathons. I'm swimming. I'm doing all of these things that I've trained my body over the years to do. But am I just okay with this? Because I haven't even reached the goals that I want to do, or haven't even come close to doing some of the things that I want to do. So, it comes a point where you got to ask yourself, when you do feel low, because everybody's going to feel low. Everybody's going to get to those points where they feel like, man, that's it. Why keep going, or revert back to your old habits, or like I said, for me, it was smoking black amounts and drinking beer, and those things had such detrimental effects on my body that you don't realize that that now that you don't do it, I have my lung capacity is strong. I'm not drinking all my carbs. Like, if I want carbs, I'll have sweet potatoes or mashed potatoes or something like that, or broccoli, or something that actually has substance that my body needs, versus when you're drinking your carbs, it's just it's terrible for you. And it's you're abusing alcohol. There's nothing wrong with a drink every now and then, but when you're having all the drinks, that's when the problem affects you and affects your actual body and stuff. So that was just one thing that I was thinking about this week. And when things get stressful, I always think about what I can do, because the truth is there's a lot of things that you can't control, so you really have to focus on your controllables. And for me, some of my controllables are make sure I'm eating healthy, make sure I'm getting my workouts in, making sure that I'm being a good husband, being a good father, and everything else under that really just you just gotta go with the flow. You gotta make sure that you just pick away at these things, because the truth be told, you can't fix every problem. Sometimes you have to do long-term problem solutions, and sometimes there is quick fixes. But as long as you are focusing on your controllables, and usually your controllables line up with your morals and your values and things like that. So it's literally controlling what you can, and and dealing with the rest along the way. And that's really the only way you can really look at it. That's the only way you can really gain a perspective to not fall back on some of the things that are negative. Like I said, for me, it was the black and mouths. It was the terrible eating, the beer. Some of these things are, they are controllable. You don't have to eat or drink these things. They really, what they really do is stop you from actually dealing with what's wrong. Like I said, I have no problem with smoking or drinking or whatever. That's your prerogative, what you plan on doing with your body. But for me, it was just coming to a point where I noticed that some of those things that I was doing, they were just affecting me in a way where it was taking me out of what I should have actually been doing, is focusing on these problems. And just to see where I'm at now, and to think that you know at some point I could have just stayed where I was at, and would I be okay with that? But the truth is, I never really even seen the person that I am now. So you gotta start to realize, and for me at least, and hopefully for you guys too, you gotta realize that a lot of the sacrifice, a lot of the things that you stop doing is actually making sure that you gain a level of success, gain a level of health. But it's just important to focus on your controllables, because that's really the main thing. If you're not happy with your results now, if you're not happy, if you look at the mirror, you're not happy now, in 5 years, when you look back, what makes you think you'll be happy with this moment if you don't start, if you don't continue on your journey, if you don't continue on doing the things that's making you healthy, making you happy? You want to focus on being healthy and happy, but if you're not focused on your controllables, then you're never going to gain that level of health. You're never going to gain that level of happiness, because you're always focused on the little fires that's around you, not really focused on the things that you should be focused on, which is your health, your happiness, and what's going to get you to where you need to be, versus 100 things that's going on or going wrong in your life, and then you're not even focused on. Because the truth is, it's all about perspective. Like, I can tell you right now, if I really thought about it, there's 100 things going wrong in my life, but there's 100 more things if I look at it with a positive perspective that are positive. I always say, you'll never go through something and not come out on the other side better. It's because it's really your perspective. If you don't think that you've learned from that thing, you might want to take a second look at it and pay a little bit more attention. Like I said, this is my first video podcast. This is going to be up. This is my first video podcast. This is going to be up soon. Up tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday. So my first video podcast. Like I said, my interview. I have a new interview coming to you guys next week. And keep watching, keep subscribing, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and see you next week.